So, I'm back. Have you had good days? Yes. Great. Awesome days. That's really, really good. Good day, got of information, motivation, inspiration, I promised you in the beginning. Is that what has been delivered? Yes, good. And I think we will end this session also with a lot of inspiration, actually, because I'm not here alone and you've already seen that. But short introduction. The Volvo Ocean Race is the most testing offshore sailing competition on the planet. In an intense battle of mankind versus elements, competing teams combat the unpredictable waters of 4 oceans in an 8-month test of physical and emotional strength and endurance. Our guests today have sailed around the world an impressive 5 times and smashed a horde of female first records, but the greatest challenge is actually about to be conquered. On the leading role of skipper of Turn the Tide on Plastic team, I welcome to the stage Dee Caffari.
Hello.
Hey, I've heard a lot about you. I've seen you. I heard from Volvo Cars colleagues as well about you. So my first question would be, what is actually driving you?
At the end of Odyssey of the Volvo Ocean race that's lasted 8 months, it feels like 8 years, I'm very tired and I ask the same question, what drives me? But it's the challenge, it's the unknown, it's the adventure, it's the pushing yourself beyond your limits that I think is what makes it so exciting. Every day is a school day. No 2 days are ever the same, and you're constantly faced with challenges, be it material challenges of the boat or personal challenges of your own emotions or personnel challenges of your team that you have to manage, or nature throwing all its elements at you. And I think that constant changing environment and the unknown is what gives me the buzz.
Great to hear. You are about to take off for the final to Hague. What has been like the most scary part, and what has then on the opposite been like the best part of it?
So often I think the emotions are very similar. The best bit is often very close to the worst bit. So if I think back of Turn the Tide on Plastics, travel, the voyage, the journey we've been on, we started to do very well in the legs from Melbourne to Hong Kong. We started to be at the front of the pack. We were leading. We went into the doldrums, big cloud, didn't finish well, okay? But we moved in the right direction. We came from Hong Kong down to Auckland. We led for 90% of the race. We were in the leading podium group for 99% of the race and lost it in the final 20 miles. That is probably the worst bit and the best bit at the same time. We had our best leg with our worst result, or, the worst kind of finish you can have. And I think because the emotions are so extreme, they're often very close together. And I think at the beginning, many would have said our team, it's a young team, 80% under 30, having never done this before. It's completely 50-50, 5 girls, 5 boys on the boat all the time. And we have 10 nationalities on board, which is always quite interesting. And I think we came in with a very low budget, very late. So we came in this time last year, we were announced. And in 4 weeks, I put a team together. So if you compare that to the Mapfreys, the Dongfongs, the other teams that are big budgets that had a year to prepare, I think people thought we would be days behind. But we've been in there fighting at the front. And I think we've surprised a few people. So overall, it's been a huge journey that I'm immensely proud of. And it's not over. It may be the final leg, but there's a battle at the top, which is pretty exciting. But at the other end of the leaderboard, there's just 1 point that separates ourselves and Scallywag. And for a young team to not finish at the bottom of the leaderboard is a big job. So that's our mission for the next 700 miles when we leave tomorrow from Goteborg to get to The Hague.
Perfect. So if you then, because here we have a lot of people working in a completely different industry, but still with the same I would say that you need to have this. You need to drive for equality and different nationalities. And is there any like recommendation that you would like to give to these guys that you can sort of take your learnings and bring forward to this team?
Well, I've learned a lot doing this project, and it's interesting. There are lots of synergies in the workplace to a high performance team in the Volvo Ocean race. It's about leading by example. It's about having buy-in to agreed objectives so that you're all trying to move in the same direction. It's about clear and consistent communication, especially for me when I've got 10 languages. Many of my team are sailing in a second language. English is not their first language. So when you're tired and emotional and somebody says something in a hurry, you need to know that they still understand you. And so that's been very interesting to work with. But I think that whole empowering the people around you to grow so that it's not about one person. The team needs to operate without individuals all the time. And I think you need to empower the team, have buy-in to the objectives and good communication, and you'll be amazed at what you can achieve.
So if you were to do this one more time, straight after, with the same team, you would win.
Oh, definitely. We know what we're doing now. We've got it sorted. You almost have to do a Volvo Ocean race to find out what a Volvo Ocean race is all about. And I said this last time with Team SCA in the last edition when I was with them. And for now with my team, they are now aware of what the race is about. And they're okay, now we're ready. I was like, okay, it's a little bit late, but let's show them on the final leg. This is our chance, our time to shine.
That's perfect. I know also that Turn the Tide on Plastic is something that is close to my heart. Been scuba diver since I was like very small, and I can see the passion from you as well. So how important for you is it, and how important is it for the future for everyone?
It's huge, and it's all about timing, and timing has been perfect. The momentum behind turning the tide on plastic on a global scale has been huge. And the synergy with my team being a young team, it's a very genuine communication. It's a genuine concern. They're very aware that our generation have created the problems. Their generation can make the changes happen so that their children can inherit a much cleaner ocean, a much healthier planet. And I think that obviously now I've become super aware of all the issues. I've had a lot of education on this project, but it's very simple changes. People often think that in the past it was someone else's problem, someone else's beach, someone else's ocean, someone else's pollution. And now I think we're realizing that everyday actions of everyday people are having an impact. And if we can all make a small change together as a collective, we can have a huge impact. And I think that's the education that we're trying to get across, is it's very easy changes that will drive big changes. And eventually, if the customer is demanding one thing, the supply chain has to change. And therefore, government and legislation can make that change happen a lot quicker. So it's a slow process, but the ocean summits we've had around the world and the 7 host cities we've been to, we've left a legacy and places put in place to make change, and that's been really exciting. So I've been from being scared of what I've seen to now being very hopeful and positive that change is possible and we can make it happen.
And I guess we are all in it together, right?
For sure. I mean, this is not someone else's problem anymore. This is, it's impacting everyone. I think when you bring the problem to each individual, people understand it more. So you can now talk to the children and say, you want fish and chips for dinner, that's good, but the fish you're eating has probably got plastic in it because your plastic bottles end up in the ocean, they break down, make microplastics, the fish eat it as food, and then suddenly it's, oh my God, this is affecting me. And therefore it's much more passionate about change. When it was, our beach is really dirty somewhere else, nobody thought about it. But when it's affecting you personally, you realize that you can make change happen.
Yeah, and I think that is something that we all should do, and not just talk about it, but actually do something. And I think it would be as important for all business people and for different companies around the world to actually show that they are serious about this.
Yeah, and change is difficult. Change is very hard. People don't like change. And it's very hard for companies and corporations to stick their neck out and try something, make a demand from the supply chain, demand that this doesn't get wrapped in plastic, or you change a material for something. But unless companies are prepared to do that, because the innovation is out there, there is the technology for alternatives. But I think we just need to be bold enough to not stay with what we know, but challenge and try and look for alternatives, or challenge our suppliers to make change. And you'll be amazed at how quickly small things that each office or division or, kind of office space does, how it has a big impact overall. And we're creatures of habit. It's hard to make things change. We like our coffee from our favorite coffee shop, but maybe we just need to take a mug with us to get our coffee, not accept their plastic cup. Maybe we just need to be a bit more organized and have our water bottle with us and demand a refill station rather than going and buying our plastic bottle of water. So it's very simple changes, but it's just a behavioral change that takes practice. And we'll all get there, but we just need to support each other and encourage each other to get there.
I'd like to come back to the question about, or the discussion a bit about, since I'm myself, I'm a woman as well, and I'm a woman in a quite traditional industry, which is quite male-dominated, and I've been
you
also
would never guess.
within Volvo Penta, yeah, but also within the Volvo cars, and I normally get that question, and I know that this time in the race there are much more women, which I think is fantastic, and I would like to show, if I may, Tiago, one film that I really, really, really like, and maybe come back to this topic when we've seen the film.
We live in a world where everything is retouched,
cropped, edited,
resized, photoshopped, filtered.
but where we go, none of that matters.
In the Volvo Ocean race,
There is no filter.
growing up, I was often the only girl in my sailing classes.
And I was told that I wasn't heavy enough or strong enough like the boys, so I couldn't be competing with them.
So all my life people have been telling me that I'm crazy and that what I'm doing is impossible.
You're often underestimated, not really taken very seriously.
I think being a girl or being a boy is not the point. It's about what you do, what you perform on the water.
People always ask me how tough a Volvo Ocean race is.
Just as mentally challenging, if not more, than it is physically challenging.
Eat and you're still racing, you sleep and you're still racing.
And there's definitely times where you question yourself, why on earth am I out here?
In some of your dark moments, you're definitely questioning if you're tough enough, smart enough, fit enough to even be there.
If it was easy, everybody would do it.
When you're on the water, the only thing that matters is how fast you're going.
When I leave the dock and I step on the boat, a light switch goes.
I grew up with boys and I had many men idols, but it wasn't until recently that I started having female idols.
The fact that we get to inspire the next sailors is really special. I just hope that we're doing a good job.
So for me, there are two sides of this. It's one with the industry right now, with girls have to be in a certain manner, but it's also about this that we as women actually can be as strong, and men can be also a bit softer. So how important is it that you really can be yourself in all of this?
It's incredibly important. You cannot pretend or keep up the pretense that you're someone else for 8 months. This is an 8-month race that is emotionally and physically really hard. You're in an environment that's 65 foot long with 10 other people, and you're going to have this emotional roller coaster. You're going to be tired, you're going to be wet, cold, miserable, hot, sweaty, uncomfortable, and you can't keep up an image. You just have to be you. And as a leader, getting the right combinations of personalities together is key to the team working, and getting the right side of people to come out so that you play to your strengths. You get everybody in the right role for what they do. And I think, there is an argument that the guys are going to be physically stronger, but there are a number of jobs on the boat where physical strength isn't the key thing. So if you have a mixed crew, you put the right people in the right jobs to do the best you can. And that's the good thing. That's the nice thing. That's the unique thing with sailing, is it's a very level playing field. We're out there on the same ocean, in the same boats, in the same weather, doing exactly the same thing. And as girls, if you sail on your own or if you sail as a group of girls, you might change sails at a different time, but you're still got the same objective and you're still doing the same thing. Now in a fully mixed fleet, we're still doing the same thing. And it's at the pinnacle of our sport now. The Volvo Ocean race is the pinnacle of the crewed round the world racing. We now have mixed teams. At the bottom, at dinghy level, at children's level, girls and boys are sailing, and there's, you know, very good diversity. And this gap in the middle is a huge chasm. How do we get the girls to continue to get the skills so that they can still get to the top? And that's the pathway that we need to address as professional sailors and help encourage change to make a difference. And it's about opportunity, but equally the girls have to have the confidence to put themselves out there. They say in business that if there's a job or a promotion available, a guy will probably say, oh, I'll go for that if he's 50, 60% happy he could do the job. I'll learn the rest. I'll make it up. It'll be fine. A woman won't go for that promotion unless she's 100% sure she could do what the spec is, because it's a self-belief, it's a self-confidence. And maybe we need to encourage girls to just push their boundaries or push their, you know, comfort zone, just be outside it just a little bit. You'll be amazed at what you can achieve. And I think it's having that encouragement to do that that's pretty key to helping the development and addressing our male-female ratios in a lot of companies, as I look at a male-dominated room.
I agree. I tend to agree with you on this one. So, as I said before, your final destination is Hague. You've been on the road now, or like on the sea, for a long, long time. What's your mission for the future?
Well, short-term future is to go home, check my house is still there. That'd be nice. Sleep in my own bed, look in my wardrobe and see clothes other than the same clothes I've been wearing all the way around the world. I also have a dog. I haven't seen him for a long time. So he's been with my mother-in-law, and now he's a fat dog. So he needs to come home. But that's the short-term plan. The long-term plan is, obviously, I want to keep sailing. And, you know, I would love to be developing and empowering a new team to go and do something as amazing as the Volvo Ocean race. But for me, we've had two races. We've had the race, the sporting event on the water, and the race ashore for our ocean health and the amplification of our sustainability message. And for me, it's to keep that momentum going. I think it is critical now that everybody is thinking in the right way, is thinking of a circular economy, of how to get better, how to do things differently so that we can continue to turn the tide on plastic. And I hope I'm still part of that as well.
I'm going to hand over to some questions to the public, because I guess audience, because you're sitting here a bit and want to ask you questions, but I have one. Are you never scared?
Oh yeah, all the time.
You are?
Yeah, but you don't show it. It's like a swan. We call it in English, we say we're like a swan. We look beautiful at the top and we're paddling like mad under the water. And being responsible for a young team going into the Southern Ocean for the first time, I was stressed. But I love it down there. It's some of the best sailing you can do. And because I wanted to show them how exciting sailing around the world was, you just spin it into a very positive thing. But yeah, I was a bit nervous that I was responsible for all these young lives.
Yeah.
And the weather, you can't control Mother Nature. You're a little bit scared at times, but it's all relative. You just keep calm and you deal with things. And all this is education, so next time you're like, it's not as bad as last time.
But then if you have such a young team, many of them must be scared now and then you need to comfort them, right?
That's right. If I'm stood on the boat thinking, God, this is really bad, they're all going to start freaking out. Whereas if I'm stood there thinking, this is really cool, look at this is really lovely, they're like, oh, okay then, she's happy, it must be fine. And it's amazing how you can just make them believe anything.
I guess that is something we can all learn as well, right?
It's very theatrical leadership, isn't it?
So, questions to you, or do you have any questions to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's microphones.
I got it. How do you mentally prepare yourself for something like that?
Well, I didn't have a very long time to prepare, as you know. So it was a case of I've had to do a lot of it on my own. The one thing I miss is having an external input, like a coach or a facilitator, so that I could get some support as well. So when I come off the boat, I take my sailing hat off and put my coach's hat on, and I have to run the debrief or the feedback. I'm doing the schedules. And it's a lot of different hats, and sometimes I just need to be part of that, and I feel I've missed out from that. It's been a lot of responsibility for me. And with a young crew, they're not very forthcoming with input into the briefings, and you really have to draw that out of them, and that's exhausting. I'm probably more tired when I'm ashore than when I'm sailing. When I'm sailing, it's easy. I know exactly what I'm doing out there. But the leadership and all the bits around it is quite an energy sapping process, and not having support of that is hard. But eating well, sleeping well, and just staying focused on the things you can do something about is key. Try not to waste the extra energy on the things you can do nothing about.
Okay, thank you, Dee. We have a second question here from Karin.
Well, first of all, I just want to say I'm so extremely impressed, and you're such a role model and an inspiration. But I had two questions. The first one is really just who is your role model in life? And then the second one is how do you put together a team with 10 nationalities during 1 month and sail off? It sounds amazing.
It sounds undoable, actually, when you put it like that. How did I do it? Role models, for me, in the sailing world, it was Sir Peter Blake. He is my absolute idol. He conquered many different disciplines in the sport of sailing and united a whole country to get behind him. The America's Cup and the Red Sox campaign with Sir Peter Blake, you ever look it up, anybody that doesn't know who he is, was phenomenal. And somebody who can gather that much support and momentum is incredible. And I'm very lucky that his late wife, Lady Pippa Blake, has been a godmother to several of my boats on my round the world tours. And we were lucky enough to have his son, James Blake, as our OBR for a couple of legs on this race as well. So I feel that the Blake spirit is traveling with me around the world. As for how you put it together, I was very lucky. I mean, the Volvo Ocean race is something that every sailor wants to do, dreams of doing. So when the team was announced, before I had even thought about how I was going to get my sailors, I had probably every means possible: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, emails. Everybody had got hold of me through all these different means. I was losing control and track of everything, of everybody asking how they could get a trial and how they could come sailing with me. The hard thing was to balance the males that thought they were good enough to sail with me with the females that were good enough to sail with me. I had probably 150 boys apply as under 30s for 5 places, and I probably had 45 girls apply. And I'm sure there are girls out there that probably could have been perfect for it, but just didn't have the confidence to apply. And so it took a little bit of time. And in 4 weeks, I filtered the CVs I got very quickly. And in 4 weeks, I managed to see 75 sailors. That was an emotional month. We went offshore with some very entertaining sailors. It was always not a good experience, but you very quickly see who you want to sail with for any length of time. And some people were really close, but not quite. And then I had to look at the personalities and the skills, because it's not just about sailing, it's what other skills you can bring. And given the short space of time, I don't think I did too bad. They're a pretty good bunch, and we're still smiling and still talking now. And I think we're going to be sad next week when it all comes to an end that we're not going to be sailing together, which I think is a good sign. I think if we were all happy to disappear, may not have been the best project. But the fact that we're quite emotional and sad at the thought of all leaving each other, I think is a good sign.
Anyone that you wanted to kick out after the first leg?
There's always someone at some stage that you wish wasn't there, but it doesn't last for long. There's always someone with smelly feet.
Yeah.
Hi. I think you're doing an excellent job. I mean, hats off to you for having a young team and facing new challenge for them, facing a new challenge, and day by day it's quite difficult, and probably you faced many. Did you face anybody wanting to quit during the race?
No, amazingly, everything they went through, even when they were really down, they are a real special type of person. They weren't prepared to be beaten. So Annalise Murphy is a really good example. She's a silver medalist from Rio. She came 4th in the London Olympics in the laser class. She'd never been offshore before. She's huge as a girl. And I was like, excellent, come offshore. I'll teach you how to sail offshore. She does suffer with seasickness. And she had a really bad leg where she was just mentally in a really bad place and she didn't enjoy it. She was frustrated, not happy. Well, offshore sailing's not for me. And she said to me, I don't know if this is for me, when we got to Hong Kong. And I said, sail with me to Auckland. You'll come on my watch and then tell me in Auckland if you want to carry on or not. And we got to Auckland and she was like, that was the best leg I've ever done. I love it. And she'd literally turned full circle. Now I think if you speak to her, she has good moments and bad moments. But overall, she was really pleased she didn't choose to quit. And when you're an athlete or a sports person who's used to training at that level, they just won't quit. They just don't say no. They will always find a way to overcome.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Do you have more questions?
Yeah, we understand it's a sport event, and winning and losing part of the game, and it's very impressive to have yourself there. I just would like to have your view and definition about success, and how do you see all these things and success perspective, and as a professional. And I would like to wish all the best for the rest of your race.
Thank you. Well, success for me, I think you need to be able to measure success. And if you go through life of you either win or lose, then I think you're going to get very depressed very quickly. I don't believe in, if you're out in a competition, the winner's the winner. The second is the first loser kind of thing. That's how my father brought me up. He was pretty tough. But I think success is measured in, have you achieved your objectives? Did you achieve your goals? Did we execute the plan? If you did all that, okay, so how can we do this better? And it's about learning from the mistakes so that you can go forwards and improve. So for us as a team, we knew we were not going to get it right straight away. We're racing with people that have done this 5, 6, 7 times. And so it was about us continuously improving. And what we still do, even now, after a short leg from Cardiff to Goteborg, we sat down, we identified what we did well, we identified the things we didn't do well, execute well, and now this morning we sat down and said, right, in this next leg, we need to remember we were good at this, we did this very well, this we need to make sure we do again. But what mistakes we made was this. So in this next leg, we'll communicate better. In this next leg, we're prepare for the next sail change better, or whatever those lessons were. So I think for success for me is if you can confidently as a team say, do you know what, we set out to do this and we did it. And I think that's success, and it needs to be measured in, yes, you've ticked the box, how can you get better next time? And that's how you continuously improve. But it's all about having a plan to execute in the first place. So did you guys watch the import race? Were you here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so our objective there was to beat Scallywag. And that was, as we came to the finish line, right behind us was Scallywag. And in the past, maybe a few months ago, we probably would have crashed at the end and they could have sailed past us. But not Sunday. Sunday, we were like, we are out to sail and beat Scallywag. And we kept that right to the finish line. And for us, that was like a win.
That's an applause.
Yeah.
But that to us was a win. That was like a win for us. And we said, what did we do well? We executed the plan we wanted to do. We wanted to beat them and we did. Okay, then we looked at, but we could have done this better, and next time we'll do this. And I think that was, it's about having that plan, executing it, and ticking the box.
We have 2 more questions. One here
Yep.
and one here. Okay. We are all impressed about your achievements and your successes. It has happened during the race that a sailor was lost on water. And I would like to understand how an event like this is influencing the morale of your team.
It had a huge impact on us. We were very close as two teams. We'd done all our training and preparation together. All our safety courses are, we're always with Scallywag team. And as an individual, John Fisher was very supportive of what I was doing with my team. So he had actually really made an effort to come and always talk to my team, give us a pat on the back and it'll be your turn next, keep going, what you're doing is great. So we'd actually got quite close to him as an individual as well. So when I had to have the job of telling my crew who it was, I knew it was going to hit them hard, and it did. And I think our mileage that day actually went down, but I think the whole fleet, when we got the news, kind of all slowed down a little bit. But it's how you use that. So for us, we have a saying as offshore sailors that the spirit of the lost sailors go to the albatross and they keep an eye on everybody else out there. So every time we saw an albatross, it was easy for me to say, he supported what we're doing. We need to go and make him proud. He's watching now. Let's do this for him. And I think that gave them a positive spin on it of, he really supported us and we wanted to make him proud and make a difference. And it was how I was going to do that was a bit, this is a really difficult situation for me, but it actually came quite easy at the time. But you do have each other's backs a lot more. It is a bit of a wake-up call to just how hostile the environment is. We're in it all the time, so you get a bit confident in it, and sometimes you need a bit of a wake-up call to realize that our safety and security is paramount, and it's a pretty fickle place to be.
So last question.
Yeah, Malin, we have a last question here from Oleg.
Oh, thank you. Dee, let's come back to the land. Imagine that you general manager of that race. What you can improve to get better results, even better results than Volvo Ocean race get in the end of its history? Thank you.
Oh, God, that's a big call, isn't it? We'd have to ask the new management that. Maybe if I give a good answer, maybe we can convince them to employ me. I think as a sporting event, it must keep the level it's considered at. It's considered at the elite level of our sport, so it must stay up there. It must be communicating honest and open communication, not what they want you to hear, but the real people, the real stories, and not hiding anything, because I think that adds credibility. So the good, the bad, and the ugly has to be seen out there. And I think what they've done very well is the message of sustainability. What we are fierce competitors on the water, but the whole fleet as a team have the objective of clean seas, turn the tide on plastic behind them, and ashore we're all collaborative in our approach to that. And I think that's a very strong impact as a global sporting event, and I don't think that should be lost. How do we do it better? I don't think you can get much better. To have 5 boats, well 7 boats at one stage after 5,000 miles finishing within 25 minutes of each other is phenomenal racing. There isn't another fleet out there or a race out there that's that close. So I think as an event, as a sporting side, it's right up there. You can't get more credible than that. But it's the peripherals that are very important, that they do it right so that nobody can find fault with. And that's the hard thing to balance. The commercial against the sporting, the messaging and the communication needs to be spot on for people to consider it as the elite event in the world.
Well, I know you're on a very hectic schedule and have a lot of things to do, and also preparing them to win.
I know, we've got a big race starting tomorrow.
But before that, I think it's always important when you stand in front of an audience and you have the opportunity to actually convey your words, not from questions, but actually from you. What would you say to these guys that they should bring back home?
I think that the future is what you make it. You are in a position of decision-making and influence and power. You can create change, you can help facilitate change, or you can encourage change. And you can move Volvo Penta as a company in any direction you want, which is exciting. And at the moment, the world is very fluid. There's a lot of change happening, a lot of outside thinking. because there's a lot of innovation and technology coming on, and you can be leaders in leading that change and getting the right technology to make you further forwards than any other company. So good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to let you go, but before that, we have a small gift for you. And it's not for your dog then, so you have to eat it yourself.
Perfect. This is good offshore preparation.
And I was going to say that, can you eat it now before you go offshore, or do you have to wait until hay?
Well, I think I should at least sample it before I go offshore.
Good. So
I've got to try it. It might be the difference of me winning and losing, right?
We wish you, from the whole team and from the whole Volvo Penta, we wish you the best of luck, and thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much. Cheers.